Something new I'm trying to say.
Yeah, apparently he have had access to way more documents that John, whatever his name, that wrote and the slaying or playing at the world. That was more kind of how, from a gaming perspective, it was designed and stuff. Not so much an emphasis on TSR as a company. This book, Slaying the Dragon.
Oh, look at that! Gary actually said first in chat. Wow.
Oh, I need to log into chat.
You feeling all right there, man? Nice. Nice. Can you guys hear us? Well, yeah, it was first in chat when I was on. So unfortunately, Rick, because I was on Blue Box's channel and I just switched over. So it may be a sidebar thing that you were actually first, but I didn't see it. So if I don't see it, does it happen? Ha! You guys hear me? What? Oh, cool. Is sound okay? Oh, good. Thanks, so. Awesome. Yeah. So John Birchfield is in Pittsburgh right now, Gary. He is tomorrow morning driving from Pittsburgh to here, and he is playing in my game tomorrow night. So yes.
Whoa.
Yep. So John will be here. John will be here in person for that Night of Yula game with Saint Elidor, the relics of Saint Elidor. Yep. The survivor. Yep. And that'll be tomorrow night, 7:30, and I should have a shout out for that. I'm not sure how detailed it is. Yeah, so we're good. Yes, hopefully he does. Now, hopefully he doesn't hit Bill over the head and try and kidnap him. You know, for just taking him away from crafting. Infinite Dimensions giveaways as well on Thursday nights. Tonight we got some Vecna reprints. So we're in good shape. Plus, I have something to show everyone. Instead of the shield being on the chair, something else is on the chair. Hey, Nagul. Tim could, and Tim will be there, and we have a super. I know this is a campaign thing. I have a super campaign surprise for everyone, like something that hasn't happened in 35 years is going to happen tomorrow night. So I'm going all out for this. Plus, Bill's done up some new creatures. Got some nice terrain. Got a good story tied into Greyhawk lore, and all in the one shot. Woohoo! So it'll be good tomorrow night. Lots of stuff coming together. Plus, we got Chaos. I know it's not Greyhawk or Dean, but we got Chaos. We got a guest from Chaosium, from the makers of Call of Cthulhu, on the Fancy Mapping Show Friday night. Then we have a creative jam on Sunday night. It's gonna be awesome. We got like cool stuff going on.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Fuzz. Silicon. We'll cover, of course, get through the ads, come on whenever they're done early. Whew. Hey, Geek Papa, good to see you. Giving away some really, really awesome STLs tomorrow night, too, from Infinite. Definitely. Cut this off for a second. Oh my gosh. Oh. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Plus on Sunday, Jeremy's gonna, and you may have seen it in posts especially if you're on Facebook or Instagram, this new whole setup he's got. Oh my God, where do you see this? And if you're a member of his tribes on My Mini Factory, which is $5 a month, you get the entire STL setup, which is crazy. It's really nuts. Mike is just quiet. He's here. He's prepping. He's like,
Howdy.
there you go. He's there.
Getting into the last minute here, like me. This is the one that I prepped the most for any show we've had so far.
It's good.
Well, we'll see. The result
Thanks,
might
Keith.
not be that impressive. We'll see.
Yeah.
No, the great thing is you've dug up some stuff, so.
I've
know.
made some. At least I made a lot of cool stuff for my own campaign in the future. Yeah, and then some and there is a lot of stuff to touch on in this one. So
Right.
Geek Up and looking forward to tomorrow's stream. What about today's stream?
Looking forward to both. He's here.
Damn.
Well, it's rare I have like another, Anna, just like I had you here once in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got John here in the basement. It's
Yep.
kind of it's a big deal.
I know Geek Up and I'm just being silly. Yep.
What's up, Curtis? The in-laws. You got the in-laws at your house?
Oh damn, Curtis, that's the wrong day to have your in-laws.
Christine Van Patten, great to see you. Christine,
Welcome.
Christine will be on Sunday night with, and it's linked up a little bit higher with Bill and Master Crafter, Mike Disney, Jeremy from Gamescape 3D, and Darling Creepshow. Everyone, and Christine does a lot of great sculpts from Reaper and does stuff on her own as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's an awesome player too.
Yep.
Yep.
Get into some really cool. What I'm hopeful is this Vecna discussion is going to bring in a lot of people who really want to maybe hear some published source stuff about Vecna, and just the hype. The hype is one thing, but how do you say reality in a fantasy game setting? Hey, Patrick, I got Bone Hill today. It's the only one I got, but I got all the Vecna ones. Then we'll do these. Curtis, I want to talk to you at some point too. About Gary Con. I want to see if you got if there's something. Ah, crap! I do. See, that's why I have great mods. Wow, thanks. All right, let me switch screens here. See, Rick, Antiquitous just, I never changed the title. Thank you so very much, man, for catching that. I'm doing it right now.
Gary Con is in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and it's usually in March.
I'm gonna leave this on until I get this back. Wow. You saved me there, man. Alex, you saved me. I hate when I do that. See, I know there's always something I forget. So much. Wednesday. Let's see, what is it? Wednesday. Alright, now hit. Now, you won't see it change unless you go in and out, but that's not a big deal. Anyone new will see it, plus online. Thank you. Michael, good to see you. Yeah, GaryCon's awesome, and they have a lot of good vendors there too, Christine. So I mean, because of COVID, I should say that one quarter of the vendors weren't there, but a couple 3D print vendors were supposed to be there. Thanks, Patrick. Alrighty. A true legend tonight. I was worried about putting that Eldritch Wizardry book up there, but you can't really see much.
So you're saying this is possibly the final episode?
What?
No, I think you mean about Vecna?
No, of Legends and Lore.
Oh no, I hope not.
Who said that? Did I miss something while I was typing in?
No, the
I
Eldritch
think
Wizardry.
Yeah. You really can't. That's really.
This is the end of the world's episode. So
Yeah. No, I just had to.
But that's how they portray Vecna now. It's the end of the world, taking over everything.
No worries about the raid.
Ideas about that.
No worries about that. It's not a big deal, everyone. The raid thing. If they're coming over, it's fine. No worries. We're easygoing here. Don't worry about it. Yeah, the raid didn't. Yeah, it's all good. No problem.
Hey.
No problem at all.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to go live a few minutes early here. All right, everyone. Good evening and welcome. We're going to have an exciting discussion tonight. I'm really hopeful about that. So thank you so very much for coming on. And thanks. Hey, don't worry about the raid. Stuff happens. A lot of you just hopped on. We can see the numbers spiked way up. I really appreciate it. We're going to have a lovely discussion about Vecna, a true Greyhawk legend tonight with me, as always, Anna B. Meyer and Greyhawk Mike Bridges.
Hey, fellas.
Hello.
So the great thing about tonight, everyone, is I don't have to do a lot of the work because I know Anna and Mike are really, really in depth on this. And Mike has something I don't have. I don't even have it in PDF. Show it up, Mike, and hopefully someone doesn't try and steal it through Zoom. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Try and get that in hard copy nowadays. It's crazy how nuts that is. Last one I saw was 225 in a bit more, and it wasn't even done on eBay. Yeah.
So this thing could pay for my room at GaryCon?
Yeah,
yes.
Definitely.
Yep. It wouldn't even pay. Well, I won't say. I was going to say it wouldn't even pay for my platinum badge. Yep. So I want to show everyone this real quick. Everyone who pre-ordered these, they went out today, including Rob. You got yours on the way. There we go. Virtual GreyhawkCon 3 T-shirts are in, all sizes. They're on the site. They're on the TTE site. You do have to sign up for the con to be able to buy one. So that's, how I get you involved. But, yep. So I have them. And if I run out, I'll do a reorder. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal to do a reorder on them. So we got them in for Virtual GreyhawkCon 3. Yes, Rob, yours should be there in a day or two. And I got some larger sizes as much as I could. So they're in. They're in. Please sign up, and if you're going to DM, please fill out the DM event. Blue Box's games he's got the main event Friday night. I think it starts at 7 Eastern, and he's got a 2 to 6 Eastern in the afternoon on Saturday game. So those are Blue Box's 2 games, so with all open sign-ups. We got a lot of people DMing and all. It's coming together. All right. So Vecna, a true Greyhawk legend. I don't even know where to begin. Let's begin here.
Yeah.
I know they talked about on Stranger Things. They said Kaz, a fallen paladin or something, defeated him, and that was all I heard. Right? Did I hear anything else in the show? other than that they really talked about?
They stayed away from the lore, and
Yeah.
prepping for this, I've had so much fun prepping for this, and I can recommend if you want to do. What I did was that I binged watched Stranger Things, so I saw like 4 episodes during the day, and then I took my books and my tablet, and I sat out on the patio after dark in candlelight and
Nice.
did the prepping and take notes and read and stuff. That was awesome because I could feel Vecna kind of coming in, taking me almost any second, so to speak. And then I went out early in the morning before daylight and went hiking up in the mountains in the dark, and I can really recommend it. If that doesn't give you nightmares, not much will. So it was perfect to keep the tension high for like 4 days. It was awesome.
Yeah, Gary. Well, I'm not going to 5e bash. I'll let you, Gary, do that. So yes. But well, yeah, but I think we do have. I don't have an official copy of it, but I have a lot of stuff in PDF for that. So it's going to be a fun discussion. Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to editions, I must say that Vecna is something that I like. There has been cool stuff written for Vecna in every edition of the game, including 5th edition and 4th edition. So Vecna has fared really well through the editions and evolved and mutated and gone back and forth, and it's a really cool D&D villain, so to speak, and with Greyhawk roots. So I think we should be really proud as Greyhawkers for Vecna has achieved stardom, so to speak, even beyond D&D. So it's kind of cool. But tonight, I think we should focus on the Greyhawk roots, but with some outlooks on other things too.
Absolutely. So
local guy makes good.
If we start from the beginning, Mike, do you have any entry things you'd like to say before I start from the beginning here?
Yeah.
No, I would just mention that in Stranger Things, it takes place in the 80s, right? So Vecna lives is 1990, so the kids don't have any lore to work with. Whatever you saw in there, Anna, is probably all they would have known, and they just made up the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So here are my originals of this. So this is 19. You're saying this is 1990?
Yeah, that's pretty
it's
accurate.
90 and the 98 and 2000.
Right. And,
so,
and I got all confused.
1990.
Yeah, this Ravenloft.
1998.
Yeah, the Ravenloft one is 98, and then Die.
Yeah, and then this 2000 is the last one.
Well, my opinion on this, this one they just decide we're going to see how much nasty crap we can put in here and just have people's heads explode.
But
we
should probably start way earlier than that, and because we might have. I think most of our viewers know all this already, but there might be a few people in the audience that doesn't know much about Vecna, so to speak.
Right.
Because you can't play in Greyhawk for years without using Vecna much. So, but you can. But Mike, you wrote a wonderful blog post about this years ago. So please,
I did write some blog posts. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, please do, and please link him if you wish.
Sure. Like, finding my blog post while I'm talking is always a challenge.
I know, isn't it?
I don't. What was even the question, Anna?
You summed up really cool. Both what was written for every edition of Vecna, and you summed up all the different artifacts because and how the powers have evolved through the editions.
Yeah,
and I think since the artifact, the hand and the eye of Vecna is where it started, so to speak. We didn't know more than in the Eldritch wizardry that was before basic D&D or OD&D or whatever you call it.
First thing, Vecna's named after someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Jack Vance.
Yes.
The inventor of the one that was inspired Gary and the designers early on for how the D&D magic worked. So
Right. So Vecna is actually just Vance scrambled up everyone. So just note that's where.
Which that took me a long time to figure out, as I recall. I probably didn't know that till way after all those modules were published.
Someone wrote it, and then I realized, damn, that's where it comes from. Yep.
Well, Drawmage is easy, Jim Ward. You see that one. You got to know the history behind it.
We're all about the anagrams.
Yeah.
So I linked one of my blog posts. It's all about the Eye of Vecna. I did not do an article like that for the Hand of Vecna. It would have been quite lengthy had I tried.
Yeah.
It's true, Goblin. Iron stones are advanced creation too. Correct. So that person gave a lot to the game setting.
Mm-hmm.
So why? All right. So Anna, we'll start at the beginning.
Yeah, please do.
Let's start at the beginning, and that goes back here. I'm just throwing out this area. All right.
You're talking about the story of Vecna himself as a villain,
where else
so to
would
speak?
we start?
Perfect, great. Because there's two threads to this. One is the publishing, what was published by
I'm going to show
the
that.
other one, Vecna. The other one is about Vecna as a villain in the setting, so to speak. So that
So if we go here, and we also go to, and I'm going to throw this up, and this is I don't know how I have these. I'm not.
And Uncle Fuzz, you have a wonderful question, and you're going to get the answer to that.
Oh,
I have the heraldry for tonight.
Fuzz.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. There's new heraldry too. You may see it scrolling through.
Mm-hmm.
So all right.
Yep.
Here you go, Eldritch Wizardry, and we go to some artifacts here in this Eldritch Wizardry book. This is 76, everyone, 1976. These original books. And we're going to scroll. Yeah, we're going to scroll down here. Men and Magic, and it's not too far down. They start talking. A lot of this is mixed in with basic D&D and AD&D. A lot of this stuff.
And an Eye of Vecna artifacts.
Yeah, and there's three of the artifacts that we're going to talk about are in here as we keep on scrolling. I thought it was early. I thought it was in the first 15 pages, but maybe not. Spells, monsters and treasures. Here we go. And then you got demons. I mean, as you can see, the drawings are very basic here. There's a type 5. I scroll through that. I don't want to get banned. There's Demogorgon. Demogorgon. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Demogorgon.
Nice.
There you go. Mandrill. And then we keep on going. The treasures. All right. Here come a lot of the. Let me make this larger now if I can. So I don't know if I. There we go. Okay. Sword of Kos.
Yep.
Okay. There's 3 here. Sword of Kos, Hand of Vecna, Eye of Vecna in the 76 publication.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with the Sword of Kos, and it says, another item connected with the legend of Lich Vecna is one-time bodyguard. The sword is said to have a thin gray blade of some metallic substance. Its powers are only dimly hinted at by legend, but Kos was said to be the mightiest swordsman of his age. Okay. Some elaboration here, Mike, Anna?
He's a bodyguard, and he's a bodyguard and not a military commander, like in later.
So they change him.
No, I'd say it's the same, essentially the same.
Well, he had that role, but he got different titles and stuff over the years. But it's basically Vecna's right-hand man in one way or the other.
You could probably infer that he's just a wizard with a bodyguard, and he doesn't have this sprawling empire.
So it's Tim Kask with a K removed. I didn't realize that either. I didn't know that for 42 years.
That is so cool.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
This is a wonderful Greyhawk tradition to have anagrams or like mix the words letters around from people that are involved. So
You're all see, I'm being educated here on that. I did not know that. So I'm trying to move this around a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. So there you have the Sword of Kos, and you have, remember, these are special powers which you can actually set yourself. It's the same way in Dungeon Master's Guide. Here's Wand of Orcus. We keep on going here, and then we get here comes. All right. It's 1976. The Hand of Vecna appears to be a dried, shriveled, and blackened hand, such as could have been caused by having been burned. The hand, and also remembered in dark passageways. An eye. We'll see that.
And that has hold true all the way to today. So they haven't changed. The basic description has been the same, and that was. I wonder how much more they had of this. How much of it was thought out but not written in here early on. That will be kind of interesting to see. Or if this was just 3 things that they thought, oh, this sounds cool, so just put it in there. Or if there was actually more to the myth and backstory originally. I don't know.
It's very interesting. And it says, soul remains of an ancient lich was so powerful he was able to imbue his hand with wondrous, horrible powers.
Mm-hmm.
So if the hand is pressed against the stump of an arm, the wearer is able to use its various powers. He must determine them by trial and error. So
that there implies that he enchanted his own hand.
Yes, instead of it being left when he was destroyed, right? There's two opposing things there.
Yeah.
I like this. With each use of primary power, the chance of removing the hands reduced from 100 by 10%. Or 10 uses, it can never be removed. Whoops. And that is always the thing with evil artifacts.
Well, you stuck with them, so yeah. And in later editions, it's simply if they're removed, you die. So your fate is tied into with the artifacts.
So they're Chronicles of Corum inspired, and Cathay and Prometheus says they were taken from Warcock's Eternal Champion Corum, which a lot of stuff gets stolen. Absolutely.
Yep.
Look at all the, ton of powers here, and then you have the Eye of Vecna.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this was basically copied wholesale into the AD&D first edition Dungeons Master Guide. Basically copied wholesale into it. Yeah. Yep.
All three. Yeah. All three. They were in. Yeah. Ultimate monkey paw.
Monkey paw.
If the eye is pressed into the empty socket of a human's head, it grafts itself into the head of the user and gives him remarkable powers. So it doesn't say. Does it say when this one can be removed? Oh, once it's placed, the eye cannot be removed. Yes, that's not fun. So here's the beginnings: 3, a little bit of a story, and 3 artifacts, and the Eldritch Wizardry book from 1976. All right, that's where we got our story. We see them reappear verbatim, and I won't show you, but just verbatim in the original Dungeon Master's Guide. So when that comes out, your Dungeon Master's Guide has the exact things in the artifacts section. Most of them make it.
And this was a book that was reached the whole audience of D&D, meaning the Eldritch Wizardry was kind of not very widespread, I think, even among D&D players.
Right.
This was with everybody, basically.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Gary, that the original idea was really cool. I don't mean that to sound like, well, the current idea is not cool, but the original idea was his spirit. It's almost like, I hate to say this, the Horcruxes in Harry Potter. Part of Voldemort, part of Vecna, they're in there. And so, eventually Vecna will take over. I mean, almost like the ring has Sauron's. The ring has Sauron's essence in it. It's the same thing, in a different sort of way.
I guess, taken literally, a sliver of the eye and hand of Vecna could reclone Vecna, right?
Well, yeah, I've seen the different versions. That's one of them. The other one is that Vecna lives on, but in order to become a full deity, he needs to have reunited with his eye and his hand in order to get full power again.
I would say no, because you can't clone someone who's dead.
But you realize
you also by the D&D rules, first edition, I'm talking, resurrection is only so many years gone, and now go ahead.
Well, sorry. No, I was going to say this is probably a perfect example of this. That then, if you want to write good stories, you ignore the rules.
Well,
the rules are for player characters, and for really cool stuff that are on the DM side, you just come up with cool stories. I see it time and time again. Even in modules, they disregard the rules of the game in order to write a cool story, or they leave them obviously ambiguous on the DM side, meaning what can gods actually do, and how do you resurrect the undead or gods or stuff like that is not covered by the rule for player characters, and that is one cool way of running the game.
Hey, Lando.
If you want to surprise players and
So
stuff.
I'm gonna. Gosh, I hate to do this because he's not here to defend himself. But you mean Rich, don't you? Because he's a flan and not a soul. So I'm assuming we should argue about him. A certain faction believed he does not belong at Greyhawk. It was a fun debate. It has to be Rich is one of them. So
okay. Well,
that's just a guess. That's a guess
well,
on my part there.
Now transcended, but originally a lot of the stories, at least from the published products, set him firmly in Greyhawk. There is one thing though in the early stories, and we will get to that, but I think that the published sources are wrong.
Oh,
but we'll get to that. Yeah.
Oh, Jason Zavoda and Pupic Dad. Wow. Why would Jason say it doesn't belong when Jason it was Gary Gygax wrote it? That's interesting. Wow.
That's kind of funny.
We'll never know because Pupic Dad has not been around, and Jason unfortunately has passed on.
Gygax may have wrote it, but Zeb is the one who developed it.
Yeah. He took it to new heights, so to speak. So yeah.
So Mike, what time frame does your graphic novel take place in that you have?
All right, this fun thing.
Yes,
this is
please tell us the story about that.
The story. This is book 1 of 2. The second one never got made. It was written in 2002.
Yep.
Interestingly, this comes published-wise. This comes after all the Vecna modules. I thought it might have. At the time, I thought it might have tied into like Vecna Die or something like that. The only tie I could find was that the artist for it's written by Modi Thorson. He's from Iceland, and the art is by Kevin McCann. And Kevin McCann, sure today. Kevin McCann also did the interior art for
Vecna Die. Well,
so
maybe that's
the tie.
Right. Well, maybe they said, "Well, look, we got this guy who did this great artwork in this publication. Well, these are originals." This is like the origin story of Vecna. So that takes us to where we want to go next, which is what the hell, Mike? This is your area here, and let's start.
Okay.
Let's start with assume you're playing a 576 campaign. Let's just assume you're starting to fight whatever edition. Edition doesn't matter in this discussion.
All right.
How long ago does this story take place?
Whew, that's a good one.
A guess.
1,000 years ago.
So negative 500 CY? Something like that?
Actually, even further than that. According to most sources, the birth of Vecna was minus 1750.
It's 2,300 years ago. Okay. Yep. Minus 1750.
Yep.
Well before any migrations, any reigns of colorless fire.
1,000 years before migrations and stuff.
Any of that. Okay. So that's where we are. We're in
that's the cool thing with Vecna is I think the coolest one of all the Greyhawk villains, because Vecna ties in to ancient lore. He ties into long past things, and there are some other ties that we'll get to later that ties him thousands of years back, and that I think is so cool. I haven't seen in any Greyhawk lore. Vecna is the one that transcends from modern Greyhawk to ancient Greyhawk, really ancient, and that is something that has been added to the Vecna myth over the years, which is really cool.
Because Rick says that his empire falls in the negative 357.
So this story has flashbacks. The primary story is the story of him trying to take down the city of Fleeth, which is worshipped by Foltest. I've seen it later retconned to be Palor and some
I was going to say Foltest is an Iridian deity,
I know.
and so that is the wrong time frame for Iridians. We're not present. So Flan, make it Palor and the story.
Sheldamar Valley, everyone. This is the
Sheldamar
modern Keelan Grand March.
It doesn't get to the point where he's still a lich here. He's not a god or anything like that, and he doesn't. And Kos hasn't betrayed him, so he still has all.
This is so cool.
He has all his body parts. Now the flashbacks is to his childhood where he grows up in the city of Fleeth. It's not entirely clear how long ago that is.
Okay, so
that's why I say 1,000.
I'm laughing at Dark Elf Twilight.
It's okay. This is the great thing about how non-set the canon actually is.
No.
It's a lot of, there's speculation. And it's
Someone
kind of like,
wrote it in, and then it became regurgitated.
I'll give you an example. There are people who think the pyramids are 10,000 years old, not 4 or 5,000 years old. There are people who think Stonehenge is double the age of what it actually is. So I can understand, it's the same thing here. So, yeah. So 1,000 years before his death, that is still 2,000 years ago, Gary. So that's in between what Anna has said at 2,300 and what Mike has said. So we have 3 different dates.
Oh yeah, it's
here now.
different, and there's a lot of contradictions in this, and one of them is Pholtus being the
That's
god
a huge one. That's a huge one.
And I think you should just retcon in Palor.
This is not what I would call, you couldn't use this for timeline use.
No,
this tries to borrow stuff from this,
which is the wrong one to borrow from. Yeah,
but it's I don't think it's
a great discussion point.
Is accurate.
All right. So
there's some good stuff in there, though.
Oh yeah,
that can be developed.
Yeah.
The comic is the story, but not 100% canon. Now, Rick, the other website, GHO, is going to argue with you about that, which is okay.
Well, canon is something that you have to make up your own definition of and then go from it, so to speak, and decide what you want.
If you're willing to try to figure out the contradictions, it could. It fits.
Right. Okay, so he's born between 2,300 and 1,000 years ago. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Now in the city of Fleeth.
But that is not verified 100% either. But we're going to go with that.
It's
can't verify it.
It's like in the real world, meaning some Scythian king in Europe 3,000 years ago or 2,000. Meaning things are iffy at best, so to speak. So a couple of rune stones don't prove that much, but it gives you a hint.
So I'm going to give Dark Elf a quick tangent. Dark Elf, you're exactly right with Star Wars canon. Here's my rhetorical question: is Star Wars: The Old Republic online MMO, is that building canon 2,000 years before the movies or not? So I'm going to give you that as a question, just like this graphic novel is for all other Greyhawk publications. It's the same thing. So it's a good point. It's a real good point you just made. Yep.
Yeah, I think when thinking I think you should handle this as a DM, fiddle together something that makes sense for your campaign out of all this cool stuff, so to speak, and then cherry pick and put together a thing that you will as much truth as you need for your campaign, and then nail that down for your campaign as much as you need, meaning depending on your play style and stuff, you don't need more than a few kind of cool facts or a few cool places or items or monsters, and that's it. Or you might want to have a very detailed cool descriptions with dates, places, and the whole shebang. It's up to you how you want to handle it, so to speak.
I would say that no, I don't think he comes from the future. I don't at all. He's Flan, so this area is Flan at the time. So
Plan and Elven, because we have elves in.
Gary, you're absolutely correct. Nothing needs to be exact before the Great Migrations. It's just there's argument on Earth when humans actually were even in North America. Were the Clovis people from Europe, or were they from? There's all sorts of questions. So it's just it's the same thing.
Say no, Patrick.
Yep.
So the Vecna children, I highly doubt it.
You turn it over.
So born in Fleeth. What is in this area at the time, Mike, is in the graphic novel? Is it like what goes on in the story?
What goes on in the story? It's on a something called the Eastern Plain. And it makes reference to a couple other Flan cities, Mara and someplace called Almedia. I'll put that in the chat.
Are they on the map even?
No.
I haven't put them on the map.
Almedia.
Okay. All right. Neither of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and those are in the flashback. So Mara and Almedia, I would assume, are already like destroyed by that time, because Fleeth is supposed to be like the last bastion, and it's got this big, like glowing aura to it that the priests there kind of keep up.
Okay.
To keep out the undead.
Who are the Flan worshipping at this point? Does it say?
It's Foltus is the only
All right.
deity they mention in there.
Foltus, but
Yeah.
it's not a druidic cult.
No, this is like a big metropolitan city,
Okay.
and it's what they were. The priests in this
Gary says old
graphic
faith.
novel, what they remind me of is the priesthood in Troy
Oh yeah.
during the Trojan War. They don't listen to, all throughout this book, the generals are telling them, hey, we got to do this. And they're like, no, we're going to do it this way because of Foltus. Through the whole thing.
Okay.
By the way, we know the birth city of Kas was Ticheron in Sheldamar Valley too. So we have 3 places, all ancient places in the Sheldamar Valley to place. Yep.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All ruins.
Yeah.
See, look at that. Even after all these decades, you're going to get new places on the map.
Yep. Yep.
Which is really cool because you can have exploration, adventures, and stuff.
And in the graphic novel, Vecna's home capital, I guess, his home country is called Yakrath.
Is that this area, the Rushmores?
See here, Yakrath. Yakrath. Because the Fultons keep referring to them as the Yakrathians.
So is that that is this area where I have up the Rushmores and all this?
Okay, that might be right.
Because this is his ancient tower, the rotted tower, correct?
Yeah, that would be his tower, and probably whatever was around it was whatever you could call that Yakrath.
It doesn't have to be this marshy then either, with 2,000 years or whatever, however much time has passed.
It might be a little bit different back and forth, but generally, rivers, it depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're talking about, they were mostly Earthland, right? Whatever your flan means here is what we're talking about with this discussion.
And
so
depends on what we mean by Earthland.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So all right, continue, Mike, with some stories
my
here.
Map. Yeah, I made the map. Yep.
Oh yeah, this is Anna's map, edited for my campaign.
Yep. And I put the rotted tower there by the Rushmores. Yeah. Might have been a lake shore by a couple of thousand years ago back then.
Okay, so, I just found my in my notes a reference here. So in the game timeline, Vecna falls in -358. So that would be about 1,000 years ago. And if you want to throw in the graphic novel, it says that Vecna and his mom lived in Fleet 900 years before his fall.
Okay, so now you have okay. All right, no problem.
Okay.
All right, so there we go. Hey, sure.
Okay.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
So a minimum of
2,000 probably.
Yeah, so
576 plus -357 plus 900. Yeah, you're almost at 2,000 years.
No.
I know it's close. Yeah. All right. So there's Josh. And Mike Disney. Good, Mike. Everyone will see Mike and Moonlit Minis both on Sunday night. All right. What goes on in this early storyline? Now we got time. We got an hour and a half still, Mike. So you can tell a good story here.
Yeah. Please.
So are we still talking about the graphic novel?
Yeah, because we're in the history era this time. And Anna, if you have anything to jump in on this, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we know this draws from Vecna Lives. Right. This draws from this. And we know from this that Vecna knocks over the city of Fleet, and there's a big long narrative in that. So it's dramatizing that, it's taking creative license that Vecna has a certain chip on his shoulder about the city because the city did his mom wrong a long time ago. Vecna and his
executed his mother for
they were like slaves in that city.
And she peddled in or meddled in necromancy, and that was not allowed, and they executed her and Vecna.
Exactly. And even though Paylor makes more sense culturally, the flavor, the feel of this module, it's so Fulfus.
Oh yeah,
you
it's so.
want the
But that
Fultons
could
to
have
lose
changed
in
with
this
Palor
adventure.
too. So you never know. But I agree. The
They are such
thematically it fits Palor perfectly. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like the mom she's prepares bodies, so she's like this
But
necromancer
she might
on
have
the
been
sly.
an evil bitch too, not only the son, so to speak. She might have been a bad person too. Yeah.
Right.
You never know.
And
yep.
This graphic novel also gives you a visualization of the serpent, which is something we learn about. I don't think we learn about in this, but maybe in the
it's
Vecna
mentioned
Reborn,
later
maybe?
on. I think it's I think it's in Vecna Die, but it's maybe it's in both of them.
So the serpent is who gives Vecna and his mom these secrets, and
we need to talk more about the serpent. That's a whole chapter further
the
down the line.
serpent's a very vague character.
No, he's not vague at all. He's vague, but he's in lots of places in Greyhawk, but no one has
Anna, foreshadow us of this serpent.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, Antiquitous says it's Moxlick. And it's so cool because look at the symbol for the land of Ayus. Right. What is that?
Skull, grinning skull.
No. Before that, what's the early symbol of the land of Ayus? Yes, it's a serpent. It's the old Moxlick is the symbol of the early lands of Ayus. Okay. It's an old flan symbol that goes in several different places, and it's part of old flan.
Oh, this one, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, there you have Moxlick.
Yes. Okay.
And so he's part of old flan fandom, so to speak, and it's an old flan hero. And this is what I mean with Vecna ties us back several generations. And the way I see it, we have Moxlick as one of these primitive gods before the current flan gods, meaning early on, so to speak. It's the old tradition. And it's still there. I don't think this was intentional, but I thought it was so damn cool I could just resist it. And that's why I put Moxlick on my heraldry for Hellorn. I use next capital because and that was also tying into Die Vecna Die, the rivalry between Vecna and Ayus. So I thought that Ayus wanted to because they're both flan heroes, so to speak, or villains, depending on which side you're on, so to speak. There's or the opposition. So there's like a competition between the old and the new, and so the expropriation of old flan symbols is part of the propaganda. So poor Moxlick, however it is involved here, is being expropriated by both sides to some degree. But Vecna seems to want to is that Moxlick gave Vecna the original powers, but Vecna then doesn't advertise Moxlick at all or anybody because he just advertised himself. But Ayus seems to be a little bit of a different creature in that sense. And this also, the original symbol of the lands of Ayus is not Ayus symbol. That was I simply interpreted that was the shield of the Lord who ran things before Ayus came there, so to speak, when he was placed there by Grast and Igvil. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff that is only hinted at between the lines that we can read a lot of cool stuff into down the line, so to speak. Sorry. Yep.
Well, let me go to this. Let me go to a bigger pick. Go ahead, Mike. One more time. There we go. Sorry. Yeah.
The serpent.
Yes. Okay. There he is. Yep. Okay. And that's where you can put.
And look, it's like Stonehenge. It's a Stonehenge stone circle.
Oh yeah. It's Tovad Bargu.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can tie into Lindorms.
Tovad Bargu is in the Bright Desert, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So here we go, and this is going to come up again.
Dry steps.
The navel of
It's dry steps.
Yep.
Why am I thinking it's? See,
it's dry steps.
It would make more sense in the Bright Desert.
It's in Baklunish lands. It's Baklunish lands. It was the former Baklunish capital.
Where?
It's the former Baklunish
Show me
capital.
where. Show me where. Am I? Is it? It's not. It's not.
South.
Is it? Oh, it's here at the lake.
On the
Okay.
lake.
Come on, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know why? Everyone can't see it because I don't have it right on the right screen. There we go.
There you go. Yep. Zoom out for so people that don't know
Windows
the
been to
details. So
Tobag.
yeah.
Dry steps. Sea of dust.
Yep. There you go. The former capital of the Baklunish Empire, if I remember correctly.
Whoops. How'd that happen? What the heck
Which
happened there?
is
Give me a sec.
remarkable.
The navel
what's
of
the
Urth.
association? What's the association with the Baklunish, site and
Yeah. What?
plan?
Does anyone
Exactly.
I
That is one of these interesting things that we need to ask Seb Cook about, how he cooked up the ancient Baklunish capital and Vecna together. But yeah. But it was one of these things that happened, and now it happened. So we have to kind of,
That's interesting. That's really, really interesting. That is
yeah.
the case
To me,
here.
I'm not completely sold on that idea, but just like I'm not completely sold on
Oh
the
man, I got
Fortress idea
bombarded with
either.
wrong buttons. Yes, I did it. I got bombarded. I deserved that. So, okay, well, there you go.
It might be the other way around, so to speak, that this might be a marriage and convenience, meaning that Tobar Bargu might be a site where you can do all sorts of cool stuff. And the site was there, and Vecna made good use of it, so to speak. That is the way I want
That's
to
the way I'm
explain it.
thinking it.
Yeah. That they was there, the Bakluni made it so they can use it for stuff back in the day, and then Vecna just repurposed it for his, because it was there, kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea.
Carlos about focus.
Okay, yep.
All right, so
Ley lines, yeah. Clay lines.
oh my gosh, boom. So, Mike, what happens? What happens in the story?
So there's a huge siege that's going on, and Koss is constantly trying of Fleet. And Koss is trying to get in any way he can. Vecna's like hanging way back. He's all the way back.
Yeah,
to the
Vecna is surrounding, laying siege to Fleet to invade it. Yeah.
Yeah, Vecna's not even nearby. He's just overwatching, and but he's scheming. He's trying to find. He's waiting for a special day where both the moons will be,
in conjunction.
new, and the Dark Knight is what he's waiting for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So right now, Koss is still fighting for him, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Koss is at the top of his game here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they're waiting for this like one specific day where, Koss can maybe infiltrate and, pull a Trojan horse type thing. It's very reminiscent of the Trojan War, except from an evil.
Okay.
This is height of Flan power, meaning the Flan had an empire and they were fighting each other and stuff, but it was the heyday of Flan culture.
So eventually, Fleet gets destroyed.
Well, there's a cool story to this. So
oh, go for it, please. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the priests have to enact their ritual they have to keep up the ritual, what they call the ritual of light that surrounds the city, to hedge out all the undead. And Vecna, for whatever reason, has to take matters into his own hands. So he shows up on site and gets caught as the ritual kicks in. And that's what messes him up real badly, burns him up. And they have to take him out. He's weakened.
And that's where Serarak, one of his generals, saves him from, which is another cool name from old Flandom. So we have lots of cool tie-ins here. Yes. Yeah, he was a Cambion. He was described as a Cambion, and then later become a Lich himself.
So wait a minute, Serarak from Tomb of Horrors?
Yes, from Tomb of Horrors. He was one of Vecna's generals at this battle, and he was a Cambion and one of Vecna's generals, and he dragged Vecna's ass, saved him and dragged him away from the front lines when the priests had given him too much light spells. So
all right, so he got all messed up. So he had his emperor moment where he got all messed up because of something someone did.
Well, he got damaged in
He
battle,
got damaged.
so to speak.
The
Yeah.
Sarek saves him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, promotes him. He owes Sarek. Which that's a nice tie-in. I don't really know much about Return to the Tomb of Horrors, but I don't think that version of the story would interfere much.
Hopefully not.
I would have liked. I agree with Gary. I would have liked another name there besides Sarek.
Well, it's kind of yeah.
It's
I got it.
It's probably due to lazy designers. Yes, I agree, but we have to live with it now. So to some degree.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like it too because time-wise it can fit. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let that go. So then what? Vecna's messed up.
Yeah, so he is messed up, but the plan to get Koss to infiltrate works. He's not undead.
Yep.
The armies might have got pulverized, but
no, most of the armies they succeeded. They took.
Well,
but
that's true. Yeah,
Koss,
but his goal was to sneak in and take out the priesthood. And that's kind of where that's the cool thing.
And you have to tell them how gruesome he treated the city, because that's the cool part of the story.
Yeah, I want to hear. So first off, we got Rick Miller and Gary button heads in chat, which is awesome.
Yeah. and please, Mike, continue. Now you can get to the juicy.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
Now we're getting into Vecna Lives territory because, like I said, the book doesn't. It ends before Fleet.
So we have.
Oh, it ends before Fleet falls. Okay.
So we have Vecna, the leaders of Fleet, the city. They
Original.
beg that
we
you should spare the city and kill them instead. Or sacrifice them and then spare the city and take the city but spare the population, so to speak. And Vecna, he does the opposite. He kills everyone except the leaders, and then he tortured the whole town in front of and all the family members of all the leaders. And then he lets the leaders go so they can tell everybody how effective and cruel and tough Vecna is as a leader, so to speak. So very
doesn't want to
Machiavelli.
rule anybody. He just wants an undead kingdom.
Yeah.
Is he undead yet, though?
Oh yeah, he's lived for 1,000 years, so he must be.
Okay, he's
he
undead,
must be
but
beyond
Koss isn't.
mortal.
Okay,
yeah,
I was trying to figure.
He must be
follow
beyond
this.
mortal realm. He's 1,000 years old at that time. So.
No, and Joe Manganiello too. Big Mac. You forgot Joe.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of we get some Machiavellian vibes in that story that I think are cool from Vecna's story. So how is it described? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Troy! Troy's poking. Troy's poking.
Yeah, but then we can get to that eventually too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So.
Well, mindless creatures. But
he just obliterates. Does he turn everyone else to undead in Fleet?
He just kills them. He just
so
kills
Fleet
them
is not an undead city. It's in ruins. It's in ruins. This is not when it falls though. This is not 357. Negative.
Well,
357. How close is it to that?
I forgot exactly what date he did it, but I think he wanted to revenge on his birth city. He wanted to raise it to the ground and kill people in it, so to speak, to show that was a yearning, so to speak, to do it, because he and his mother was treated so bad, and when he was born, so he comes back. He waits 1,000 years and then he raises it to the ground. Yeah, so it just proves how that some villains think long term when they do things, which is, I think, it's a really cool thing to bring in. It can
also be assumed that they kept that shield up for 900 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How? Okay.
Yeah.
How does he become undead? Is that not known?
Nope. There's some theories on that too. He got the magic from the elves and from the serpent, but according to some sources, it was Orcus who gave him the knowledge to become a lich.
I like that better.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some. So according to some of the rumors in the literature here, it's that Orcus gave him the power, and that is also kind of cool because then he can tie into Urflan and Old Flan cults of both the serpents and Orcus and stuff. So there's another cool tie into old Greyhawk lore, so to speak.
Yeah, Gary, he was the first lich, and then he taught a Sarek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
his BFF.
Or as Sarek realized you can do it, so then he did it later or something. So yeah, set an example or something. So yeah.
Okay. See, Mac, you're pulling Shadowfell, which is a FR term all the way. That's a
Oh
that's,
yeah, but
that's an FR
I
term.
like that term, so I'm
yeah, I
using
guess there
it
is
too.
an upside down.
Yeah.
Shadow plane. So
Shadow plane, but Shadowfell's
plane.
a specific FR term, I thought.
Oh yeah,
Right.
But I like the term.
The plane of shadow exists. I have that in my game too.
Mm-hmm.
It's demi plane. Yep.
Plane of Shadow is a very scholarly name for it.
Yeah.
Shadowfell sounds
Okay.
more like
You're saying it's the same thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's fine.
Yep.
Patrick, I gotta understand what are you doing? Why are you on this children kick? Are you saying because you want people to adventure with? Oh, I am a descendant of Vecna. Oh man.
I don't think you.
That's what my
I don't think you would want kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just curious as to why. Yeah. All right. So, what? Let me know if we should bounce any other books at this point.
Well, yeah, Mike. What happened after when he basically conquered large part of the Flannies, so to speak.
Then he won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then shortly after he won, then Koss probably got
the whole Sheldamar. The whole Sheldamar here.
He took that and large part, and he waged war against the elves. That's another thing.
So the elves of Geoff we're assuming, and the elves of Selene and Geoff.
He probably took large part of central and southern Flannies, so to speak. He took that part, and then he manufactured the sword of Koss and gave it to Koss, and he eventually. But before then he waged war on the elves. There is an elven glitter helm, something named. Of an elven leader in what would today be Ernst or the Gamboj somewhere on the eastern shores of the
Near-Dev. Shores of the Near-Dev. Now he was getting into the Orth Journal #1 timeline by Steve Wilson and Leonard Lakofka, which I say is trash.
Okay.
Sorry to be controversial.
No, please.
I like the elven part of it. I think the Sewell part of the timeline's trash.
Yeah.
The Backloonish is maybe a little decent. The stuff with Vecna fighting the elves does not mesh with anything else whatsoever. If you put that timeline, you put him over there in the east fighting the elves. I just don't think it lines up well with everything he does in the Sheldamar.
But there's elves in the Sheldamar he can fight too. I mean, he's got the Selenian elves.
Yeah,
the Geoff elves, and the Dim Forest elves.
Yeah, you could definitely fix it. He was fighting the Glitter Helm guy. The High King of the Elves was in the Rakers. In the mountains, actually.
That's a long way off.
Oh yeah, that's pushing it too far.
Wages his protracted war with the elves, and the final confrontation is in the city of Summer Stars in the Audrey Forest.
Wow!
And they're the ones who repulse him, and then Vecna turns on him, and so in that timeline, Vecna falls after fighting against the city of Summer Stars and the Elven Prince Darnakurian, etc., etc.
See, I like that map, Gary, that you just linked. It shows the Sunder, the Empire of the Spider. It goes as far as Greyhawk City, and beyond that, some into Ernst, not much, and it covers the whole area of the Sheldamar, with the exception of the Yeomanry and the Sea Princes currently, and some of the Pomars. Kind of like that.
He puts it within reach of the elves. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that timeline. The reason I hate that timeline is it also says that Vecna was a Tharizdun worshiper.
I hate
that. Is part of the
he created the bright desert conditions.
Yeah, which is we have different contradictory sources on that.
Is this all from Earth Journal 1?
Orth Journal #1.
So I hate to do this to Leonard, but it sounds like he's trying to tie in everything that was needed an explanation.
That's my take on Vecna. Vecna is so fashionable that they try to tie everything into him occasionally just because he's so cool. And
someone else might know better. I think this is probably more Steve Wilson. I think Leonard did the Sewell history parts.
Okay, so Gary, Steve wrote that part. Len only wrote the Sewell part. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Right. Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
All right. So
Vecna rumors.
Let's just go Earth Journal All right, it's another story. It's an alternate story idea. How's that sound?
Yep.
So like I said, there's parts of that I like. Yeah, in our published timeline, there are Earthland who fight the elves, but I don't think it ever explicitly says it's Vecna's Earthland.
Okay.
I mean, that's just as Kitchen Sinky is saying it's Iraq.
I'm so shocked about that. It still shocks me that connection, but that's okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what he has this huge domain which swaths from here.
Definitely
not
the
the
largest.
so not Dreadwood, not past Dreadwood for some reason.
No, but we have another interesting connection that I never heard anyone do anything with, is that Vecna ruled from the spidered throne.
Yes.
And spider seems to be slightly connected to Vecna. Exactly. And the interesting thing is Lolth and Vecna were active in the same area. And there seemed to be some spidery Loth connection. So I wondered if Vecna and the Drow could have had the same inspiration or something, because we don't have any connections between Lolth and Vecna. I haven't seen any of it, except for the fact that there is a slight spidery connection. Exactly, spiders are, and I think it's just because spiders are creepy, and that's why they connected Vecna with spiders. That's my personal theory. I don't think there's any real lower back thought to it, but it's in. I just wanted to point it out that we have a spider connection with Vecna as well.
Darko, it's another thing that maybe who knows why the title.
Yeah, and spiders don't automatically mean Lolth, and we have the dim forest and other areas are spidery in the fact that there are spiders on the encounter lists and stuff. So yeah,
a huge amount. Yeah. All right. So, how many years is his kingdom reign?
It reigns about 300-400 years, I think.
300 to 400 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Hawkins.
About minus from.
So where is Hawkins?
About 500 years.
That's
600 years. It's supposed to collapse in minus 1030s.
Yeah.
According to the timelines of, if that is Earth Journal 1, then I'm sorry, but
that's okay. So 300 to 400 years, he has the domain here.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I know it says it's just like Rome. It got too big, and so he has his cost. You take part of it. We don't know where that part is. Correct?
Yeah, but we also have other Flan, the Elysian Empire or Flan Kingdom of Elissa rises. So we have other Flan kingdoms coming. We have Sulm and Elissa and Ethod and what they're called. So there's a new generation of Flandom rising, so to speak.
Sulm is one of these cases where, depending on what timeline you used, either they were before Vecna, I think, or after Vecna.
Yeah, exactly. They're contradictory sources on those. Yeah.
Now, as to the in-game timeline, we know, at least from Gary's Q-Land articles, that Vecna was still running things in the Sheldamar Valley when the
Rain of Colors
migrations happened.
Migrations happened, and they kind of
From my notes here, he fell for good only 16 years before the founding of Q-Land. 16 years.
Yep.
Think about just what happened 16 years ago in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning, come on,
that just happened yesterday.
Cool. Yep. It's
so
cool.
Vecna would have been fresh.
Yep.
In Q-ish minds. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why they formed a kingdom so fast.
Well, they kind of had one to take over, kind of thing. Yeah. And we have to go into the betrayal of Kaz.
Yeah,
what do we know about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So any maps or any location or any reference books for this? Because it's a lot of it that is in story. I don't know specifically if there's published.
Anna,
go ahead.
What do you know, Anna? What do you know?
Well, but first, when it comes to maps, that's one of my projects for next year, is that I want to do a couple of historic deep dives, and that has been in the making for, that's why I'm collecting city names and stuff like that. So I'm definitely, I will do a map for my campaign, what the world looked like probably around minus 500 to 1,000 or so. I would probably set a time early on in Vecna's rules, so to speak, when in the Flander minus 2,000, 1,500. I have to kind of pick a timeline for my own campaign, and then after that I will make a public version of it and file off the worst discretions or digressions that I take from my own campaign, and make a Flan map of what I envision Flannies to look like 1,500, 2,000 years ago. That's on the two. It's already in development. I'm just putting, so the Vecna is part of that's why I love to do research for this. But what do we know about? We know that the cast, the Sword of Cast, that doesn't have a name. I think it only is the Sword of Cast. I think.
Oh,
yeah. Well, it could have had a name, but then people go,
it forgot the name.
Humdrum is boring. Cast was a badass, so it's his sword. I understand that completely.
It was forged from the steel of a star or something.
Sounds like a meteor.
Very kind of magical material, so to speak.
And so according to Gary, he was Cast is ruling the northeast corner.
That's the coolest picture I've seen of
that is
the Sword of
Cast.
Cast.
Really
there is an official. Sorry.
I was just going to say, in the graphic novel, he has the Sword of Cast in the graphic novel.
It looks much better there. It's weird because Wizards of the Coast have done an official version of the Sword of Cast that is only half as cool as that is used in 5th edition. That doesn't look anywhere near as cool, which is kind of weird that they don't even use their own previous art that is cooler, and that seems to be a miss from the art director.
Enoch, this is Vecna, Hand of the Revenant. It's a graphic novel that came out in 2002. It's pretty much one of a kind. It was supposed to be a 2-part story. They only finished the first part, and then I guess Wizards decided to move on to something else.
So it's a good question. So this is all happening. This Vecna's kingdom is still during the Reign of Colors, Fire, and the migrations. Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. So why, like, Cast is up here in the Divers area, and then just decides at some point, you know what, I'm tired of Vecna, so I'm just gonna take him out because I'm tougher than he is. The typical, my ego is bigger than yours, but. Are you saying disagreed tactics when it came to the thousands of new migrants or regions so pouring into the Flanders to Cast wanted to lead armies against the Arity, and Vecna said no? Conjecture there, Gary, we don't know, right? Some reason came up, whatever it is. That's a good discussion point on a cannon fire to come up with an idea as to why. Mike, do you have an idea?
I don't know. No, without going back and reading this, all I know from this is Cast is probably a vampire by then, because otherwise he would have died a long time.
Exactly, he would have. Yeah,
he's in here as a vampire.
And then when he turns on him, somehow Vecna imprisons him in his other plane.
Citadel, and that's in the
so that seems to be. And this is one of the other interesting things, meaning, do we have any from the more kind of Greyhawky sources of him going off and building Cavitus and all the other stuff? Or is that something that comes because we have and that's going to say we have the Greyhawk version of Vecna that we talked about so far, and then we have the Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms, general D&D, and beyond them we have Vecna in general nerdiness
today. Fuzz is right.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to interrupt Vecna ascending to godhood, because that seems to be his MO through all the modules.
Yeah.
He's trying to get godhood.
Yeah.
And Cast was probably the first one to stop him.
Yeah, and I like that, Mike, as well. But in this book, in Vecna Lives, it says he needs to find his eye in hand. He can't scry his own pieces. That's the one thing he can't locate. That's part of the whole reasoning behind this adventure.
Enter to Throne. Yeah. So I think there's probably a period where Vecna is destroyed, and everyone assumes he's gone,
right?
But he's really like this demigod floating out there.
Yep.
Yeah, a Sauron-like thing.
So that means that Cast must have struck at Vecna very, very close to when the migration came in, when the Soul came in, and the world was in turmoil politically and demographically.
The pieces.
Yeah, and Cass saw the chance, and now we get rid of.
Walked off into the sunset and ends up in the Citadel.
Mm-hmm. And then Vecna vanishes from and then reforms slowly over a long time as a
meanwhile kind of his hand and I just start traveling.
Exactly, the cultists brought him back to life eventually, or something, depending on how you want to have the story. So
according to Vecna Lives, the swords want to convince you are true ruler of all his lands. It seduced him, using him to serve. So at last, emboldened by the sword's sweet voice, Cass struck at his lord.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Yeah, because it's interesting because when Cass strikes at Vecna, that ends one epoch of the Vecna story, meaning the story about real Vecna in Greyhawk ends there. And then now we get into the story of Vecna as a god, demigod, kind of a godlike figure, or something that comes. That it's a different part of the Vecna story, so to speak, afterwards.
Right. Okay.
And that's when this module comes in.
Yeah, and that's what I'm bringing up here now.
Yeah. Because then he's already, when this module comes, he's already gone as an historic figure. He's now a god, whatever, some sort of spirit living out there, or something that wants to become a god. He's a proto-god, a hero god, demigod, or whatever, something.
So this is published in the heyday of the 2nd edition era.
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot of neat things in it. I've never run it because it just didn't feel right for me and for my campaign.
I never ran it as written either, but I've used inspiration from it for a lot of stuff.
You love it or hate it. I was actually saving Vecna Lives when we did
I don't think so. Parsec.
When we did the what if episode. Vecna Lives is one of the ultimate what ifs, because at the end of that module is such a turning point in time.
It could be. It could become a greater god.
We have two what ifs here. We have two what ifs that are the biggest what if in Greyhawk history. So we for obvious, the one in the middle here has much less to do with Greyhawk, but these two are very Greyhawky. Yep.
So oh man, I just lost my brain just shut completely off. This is one of 8. Yep. Yeah, so that's it. So I don't know which comes first. I think Falcon comes first, but once again, the Circle of 8 gets destroyed completely by in here. Now it's technically not Vecna, right? It's another individual.
It's the Halmadar the Cruel, and that's an interesting story that we need to get into too. But let's stay with this one.
Okay.
Halmadar. Let's explain Halmadar the Cruel, because we have the hand and the Vecna. The hand and the eye are still out there in the world of Greyhawk somewhere. And according to the lore of Vecna Lives, a guy called Halmadar in the Shieldlands got hold of the eye and the hand, and he thought he was Vecna. He put them on, and he thought that, oh, I'm Vecna, and he started a new rule as Vecna Halmadar, so to speak. As he said, he started to rule in Vecna's name, and he started to behave like Vecna in Shieldlands for 30 years or something like that. He had in southern central Shieldlands, he built a small little empire there and slaughtered people left and right, and did all sorts of stuff.
That's the Shieldlands I know.
Yeah, and this is early on during the reign of the Great Kingdom. So that's before the Knights of the Holy Shielding had really become a thing. So
it's still kind of a while.
Yeah, it was early days of. So the modern Shieldland that we know and that this kind of ended in the Greyhawk Wars was barely founded at the time, I think, if I remember. This early days when it was being conquered by the Erde and the Great Kingdom. It was the frontier. That's when Halmadar got the eye in the hand, started his own little private empire, and started killing. And eventually the Knights of the Holy Shielding and the Greyhawk, or the Great Kingdom Knights and so on, managed to kill him, and they took his remains and took them to the Cron Hills and buried them with the hand and the eye on there, so to speak, and
so
then sealed
it in
our
backyard.
Yeah, exactly. So which to me seems very obviously
dumped him off on the gnomes.
Yeah, so exactly. And then they told the gnomes who built the sarcophagus, or the tomb, so to speak, and to not say anything to anybody. And this is one of the fun contradictions in this book. And they say, oh, and the secret is safe to this day. And then they list books when it's mentioned, and they list all sorts of other things. So it's a contradiction. So Dave Zeb Cook, please don't write contradictions in the adventure itself. To me, it's kind of if you can't say that they never talk to anyone, and then you have half a library full of books that says that you can figure it out in an afternoon or a week. But that's, to me, is kind of a little bit faulty adventure design. But yeah, sorry. That was the story of Halmadr the Cruel. Yeah.
Which he is all over the place of this adventure. He's all, and especially the master villain in the beginning of the adventure. So you end up in this adventure, you end up having, if you're going to run it, going to Tofag Baragu as well.
That's
some point. So you have to get there. This is
okay.
Good, Mike.
I need to answer Troy here. So Troy asked in the chat earlier, would the other gods of Greyhawk try to stop Vecna? Yeah, that's what Vecna lives. One of the premises of it is he has hid these magic items at various points on Earth. They don't go into any detail about it. He has that part set up. The final key to triggering that is him getting his items and opening that portal at Tovag. That's what sets the whole thing off. If he succeeds in that, then there's maybe some bubble around Earth. I don't know, but it cuts
he
all
will
the gods
diminish
off.
all the other godly powers
And he
stuff.
becomes the only deity there. So no, the other gods will not be able to affect him. Maybe demigods could, or hero gods, but he'd be the only true god if his plot succeeds.
So it looks like from Gary's timeline that he placed up here, Halmadr is 430 common year. He gets it. He gets the stuff. And then Halmadr is freed in 579. Right. So there you go. So that 579 technically is when this adventure is supposed to happen. Okay. All right. I appreciate that link, Gary. Thanks. Yeah. Yes, Vecna dies the third one in the order, and that one's just interplanar travel and all the other fun stuff. So you got here. The deal with this is the following: you got to figure out how to stop Vecna from ascending. You need to convince Koss to help you, and Ayuz too.
And Ayuz,
both of them.
Yep.
Simple.
You can stop the cult, but you have no hope of stopping.
You have no hope. Basically, you are a pawn, and you guys are pawns in this adventure.
Yep.
You need to convince those two individuals, and Koss is in his citadel here. He's basically in this. There's Koss too. See, so he's in the citadel.
I don't think Koss really wants to have anything to do with it.
Koss is like, I don't really care. But he goes, if you give me my sword back, then I will. And there's no negotiating. So there you go. Yeah.
My favorite part of the module, the turning point, is when you're at Tovag and it's the climax of this module, and the PCs have to have a choice whether or not they're going to stop Vecna or help him. Vecna says, he picks out a player and he says, hey, I'll make you a demigod if you turn on your buddies. So at that moment, a player has a chance to make his character into a demigod.
And if they accept the adventure's over.
Yeah, if they accept it's over and your character is an NPC, but
everyone else is dead.
Wouldn't that be a great story?
It would be, but the synopsis on this is at the end of Vecna Lives. If Vecna is successful, there are no other greater gods in Greyhawk, including Istis, none of them. He becomes a greater god. They're all reduced one step, except Ayuz, who stays as a demigod. All your demigods, all your Merlins and Kellenins and all the other demigods are gone. Kind of almost a time of trouble Forgotten Realms thing.
I wondered if this was a way of resetting the setting, so they would actually have published a new version of Greyhawk that was with this have happened, so to speak. So
they can kind of it happened that way than Fate of Vistas.
Yeah. So they could have done it, or if it's interesting because this would basically have been, if that module had been run officially, so to speak, and the outcome of this would have been rearranging the order of the gods. So yeah.
So he also says in the end of this, I like, so the city of Greyhawk falls under the sway of evil oligarchs. The giants of the Crystal Mist Mountains grow in strength, while the drow beneath the peaks begin to expand onto the surface.
Yep.
The sun grows dimmer and nights become longer. Darkness, both moral and physical, slowly stretches fingers out over the land. Oh, but the good thing is, in this grim world, there's plenty of adventure for player characters.
There is now an interesting conspiracy theory on 5.5 or 6th edition that Vecna is going to reset the multiverse for there's I've seen some cool
I've seen
theories on lore masters on YouTube and stuff, and there's some interesting cool stuff they're weaving around it, and from a product perspective and a business perspective for Wizard of the Coast, it might make sense. So it's going to be interesting. There might be that Vecna is the new Tharistun for
all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Spell plague and the whole shebang for the multiverse.
Rewrite history.
So we'll see. We don't know. Maybe 2024 we will see if that is true or not.
There are someone said earlier, there are great characters in here. The items are detailed. The artifacts, you know, Mariel's in here as well. By the way, Mariel has a part in here.
Good character.
It's the kind of the doomsday big scenario. I'm kind of a little bit iffy. But
here's the thing: if you defeat him, his essence goes off, and I guess Monty Cook couldn't help himself, or whoever they said.
Exactly. Now we get to.
And then they go, well, we'll just write this.
Yep. The reborn thingy. Yep.
So let me pop this up here.
But then they had the new cool setting,
I agree,
Ravenloft, to promote, and Vecna was an awesome villain to place in that setting. So
I've never ran that module. It looks kind of neat, but it's
lacking in detail a lot. You know, so
Ravenloft is, I think, always been some
storytelling
DM.
So I want to show something here. Vecna Lives is better. Vecna Lives is way better as a source book, Gary. I agree. Just like kind of like Eyes Evil and Marklands are source books, but you can run adventures out of them. Yeah. So there's Torgarok. That's the capital of his domain. And does it say how he gets here?
He's thrown out there. He's basically exiled.
So is Koss too. Koss
exactly.
Gets his
they're
own
exiled
too.
They have neighboring realms, and they're supposed to fight each other, but they can't personally go into the other's realm. They just have to send.
So Vecna gets trapped in there, and he knows instantly. He's smart enough to escape from there. So what the Dark Powers did was they put Koss in there too to distract him.
Yeah.
And he knows he has to go after him first.
It's kind of a smart story. Oh, I'm trying to get to. So if you go to his domain, look, the Kevin is still here. It's in Ravenloft now. It makes sense.
There's a domain map there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Here it is. So here, Tovag Tovag is the name of it, and here's the Fortress of Koss, and this is the whole area. So yep. So.
And now we left Greyhawk, so to speak. Here starts the non-Greyhawkian story of Vecna really comes to life here, so to speak, meaning his kind of multiverse.
Lando's ambitions. Correct, and that's the point of Vecna Reborn. Is the grisly scheme behind this is Vecna is trying to be reborn in Koss's domain.
Right.
That's how he gets around it.
So.
Thank you, Gary. Tovag is Urth in Baklunish. Awesome.
Yep. Very nicely done there. So I've done a couple adventures in Ravenloft. This is not one of them. So at the end of this, what if you are successful? I guess
You just set him back.
you set his power back, correct?
Yeah, he's just stuck.
Yeah.
And he's got to try something else.
Yeah, they're beneath Vecna's notice.
You can skip this module basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from a Greyhawk perspective, you can
Yeah.
just skip it. It has nothing to do really with Greyhawk. It's
Right.
Greyhawk is actually mentioned a couple of times in it, but just because there's some flavor and some names mentioned, so Greyhawk is listed twice, probably as a way of getting a few people to actually pick up a Greyhawk product, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people love Ravenloft Adventuring.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, I kind of
so and so. Yeah.
Pocket
Depends on who
planes are
runs it.
fine.
Yeah.
Pocket plane idea is pre, you got your Planescape feel to it, but you want a true Planescape feel to it.
Yeah.
You go to the third adventure, and that will really, because you actually are in Sigil for a lot of this. A lot of you are actually almost working for the, what's her name, the Maiden of the Mistress of Pain, who runs Sigil. Remember the Planescape cards?
You were into this one now.
Well, I just jumped ahead there because you didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So
because
that
this
module covers the escape from Ravenloft.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then the escape from Sigil.
Yeah.
And
now they want to reintroduce Greyhawk into Vecna's story again, and I use as well. And this is a new interesting twist, though, that I kind of like that twist. It's very Vecna-esque. And Vecna, he creates a couple of stone tablets that he inscribes with an old ancient or like primordial magic language, more like mathematics or something like that, how the world works, kind of formulas for becoming a god. And he puts these tablets on Earth somewhere. I forgot exactly where, but he puts them there to people can study and so on. And he falls for it. So he grabs these tablets and study them and to figure out, this is spoilers. So skip listening from here on if you're interested in the adventure. But so Ayuz is kind of, this is how I can become a god, so to speak. And he follows these things to the letter, and boom, it's Vecna grabs him and takes over the power of Ayuz, so to speak. That's the very quick way of saying it. Vecna fools Ayuz into submission, so to speak, or takes his power.
You start in Tovag Baragu again.
Yeah.
So you go back there. I kind of like this picture, though. I like that.
There's a lot of this one has a lot of good illustrations.
I like that
because it's Kevin McCann.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's nice. It's really nicely done.
Yep.
So, this thing would take a year to run. It's huge. I mean, it is big.
Yeah.
It is massive undertaking. What levels is recommended?
Again, I never ran that module before. It just intimidated me.
My guess is super high on this. Do you know what levels this is?
I think
10th to 13th, I think.
Yeah, it's for high level play. But it's interesting. They're obsessed with Vecna taking over everything.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the new Tharistan, kind of, almost. And it's kind of, they really want to sell him. And they succeeded from a business perspective. They really succeeded because he become as popular as D&D itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Tim? So, see you tomorrow. We're gonna surprise everyone tomorrow night with something.
Oh.
So there's a lot of cool items in here. Chalice of the Cult, Vecna and wafers. You go back to the Citadel. You go to, and then I forget how you get to it, but planescaping. You get to Sigil. And Anna, did you delve into? There's slide everywhere in here. Vecna have allied with the slide.
I haven't read every room or something like that. I haven't gone through every page, reading every encounter. No, that I didn't have time for that.
Vecna somehow gets allied with the slotty in here.
Okay.
And and he gives them another offering of, well, just join me, and you got Ayuzian. Look, you got a lot of Ayuzian, 12th level.
Yeah.
Kobadar the Cruel, Ogre Mage. So there you go, Hand and Eye. It is a lot of just scheming and
This is kind of a Greyhawk deity politics on steroids.
Yeah, on Superstar. It's Planescape / Greyhawk mixed together.
And Planescape. So it ties in Greyhawk, Ravenloft, and Planescape.
Everything. It's tying it all in. So he's got his palace here. I'm trying to find. Yeah, it's got some. The artwork is unbelievable in here, though. Fantastic artwork. So. How's it pronounced? Sigil?
I say sigil myself.
Yeah, some say sigil and some say something else, I think.
I've always said sigil. Am I wrong? It's sigil?
I don't know. I always
How do you pronounce Vigil? Vigil.
Yeah, vigil, but with an S. Yeah, sigil.
Sigil.
That's how I always thought it was.
I always pronounced it was. Listen, if there's a word, I'm gonna mess it up anyway with my South Jersey accent. So
well, I'm a foreigner. So
nice,
yeah, I'm gonna hack it apart. Sigil. Okay. All right. I've seen the hand of Vecna as both a mummified hand and a skeletal hand. Which is correct? Well, what's the one Watsy made? That'll answer that question.
Yeah, it's mummified, I think.
It's mummified. Yeah, I always saw mummified.
Judging from the descriptions, it's mummified and burnt remains rather than skeletal. Yeah.
That's funny. That's all right, Casey. It's all good. I really appreciate the input here. Oh my gosh, stop. And it's not my friends either. It's my wife talking to someone. I'm like, I gotta turn it. It's all right. Stop. Okay. So at the end of this, you have to sigil. You have to save it, or he's going to take over the entire multiverse. Correct?
Yeah, it's supposed to be that something breaks, and it's interesting because in Stranger Things they used very much this analogy from this in his takeover of the world in Stranger Things.
Right.
So there are some cool little parallels and homages to D&D Vecna in Stranger Things too, and that's one of them that I think is kind of a little bit cool. Yeah.
Yeah. If I recall, in this one though, you are fighting Final Confrontation. You are fighting in the end. I just turned that off. Oh my gosh!
That adventure is a slog.
It is a combat slog. I mean, this thing will literally take you forever and ever to run here. Yeah,
it's pretty much in the same vein as the Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil. It's just
yeah, which I can't
more.
stand,
it's like, oh, you like Vecna Lives? Here's more.
Yeah, and look, here are the 3 items right there. Yeah. So, what are the Demiplane and the Dark Cloud? So, are you successful in saving the multiverse or not? It's like it's also like Tolkien. And Giles a hand, right? He saves the village. The next one, The Hobbit, he saves the Lonely Mountain community. Then Lord of the Rings, they save the world. It's step ups.
To me, it's kind of a little bit an example of what not to do in adventure design, because it's like, don't do an adventure that if you miss, then the whole world goes down the drain. Yeah. That's kind of But
I don't know much about Planescape Adventures, but
they all seem
aren't Planescape Adventures all supposed to be like these type of states?
Yeah,
right?
but that's kind of to risk. It's like risk opening the Pandora's box with Thuristan or something.
Stay away from M5 brings up a case that the Lady of Pain can keep out all deities. I think he sneaks his way in, M5.
Yeah.
He sneaks it. I know. He snuck his way into Sid.
Whatever he's doing, he's going to get kicked out eventually, I think.
Yeah. So, when you look at these, and when you look at these publications, you kind of understand why WotC is taking this all to another level. I mean, the writers here have done that for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the power up from the original discussion all the way up is it's exponential.
But to me, it's kind of funny because it's almost like Vecna for real has an influence over D&D writers, and they can't resist him. So whatever he wants them to write, they write. Every couple of years, there is or every decade or so, there is a new Vecna book coming out that Vecna becomes the master villain over all the other villains. And it's probably good for the general public to have a cool villain name that they try, but for us who are insiders and been playing for decades, he gets a bit cliche, so to speak. It's a little bit too cliche at times. So yeah.
So this explains right here. He took Ayuz's essence and then used that to actually rewarp what sigil is, so that there was a door for him, and it took an entire age for him to do that. So there you go. That's this right here in the discussion. Yeah, Eyes too grounded. So Jeff Grell
that makes sense because
Finder, sneaking the sigil by hiding his power somewhere. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
But when you take how Ayuz acted in the Gord books, it makes perfect sense that Vecna outsmarts him.
Because he's very brash and forward.
Yeah,
and
he's like a spoiled teenager in the Gord books. So that makes perfect sense that Vecna would, or someone like Vecna would outsmart him.
So you get the. There's no point in going over. Like, look, I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome artwork.
Yeah.
Even though I'm trying to figure out why the Slod would ally with Vecna, I couldn't figure that out. So.
Slod is less slotty as
Slod are very character neutral. I don't. I don't know if
like
they
all over the place.
care.
Yeah.
Knowing how that artist does his work in the graphic novel, it's like almost painterly. I'm wondering if those black and white illustrations are actually in color.
Ooh.
The originals.
Yeah, that might be.
Maybe we should
like
try
that. Like that picture right there. I
Yeah.
bet that's in color originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yep.
And we have a third version of the Sword of Kaz in this book too.
Absolutely.
So Wizard of the Coast have paid for multiple designs of the Sword of Kaz. So you can just pick the one you like.
There's Vecna. There's Vecna. You know.
So here's an interesting tidbit I saw in Die Vecna Die. Jay, if you go to the first page, the opening credits, the authorial credits, it says in there that one of the sources for this adventure is Diablo 2.
The Awakening by Bruce Cordell.
What the hell's going on there?
And Mike Sullinger.
It's and Diablo is one of these things that computer game that has a lot of iconic. It's the strange.
I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you what it is. This is God. I hope he never comes on and then looks back at this. This is Monty Cook's Cabal. Monty has his group, Wolfgang, Bruce Cordell, and a couple others, and that is a publication that that was done. And I think that they tried to pull everyone in, because you got Dungeon 70, The White Kingdom by Wolfgang Bauer. You got Vecna Reborn by Monty Cook. It's the same, and they both work for him to this day. So that's what it is.
Yeah,
they're pulling from those
there's
sources.
There's even Death Knights in here. There's a room full of Death Knights and stuff. So yep, there's Death Knights here too. So
scroll up. Tiefling reference. What edition is this? What Tiefling reference? What Tiefling reference are we talking about?
Yeah, and this is one of the last second edition books ever published.
It was the last.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the last. Yeah, it's on the just before third edition came out. So.
Yeah, this is 2002.
It was probably supposed to be Die 2E Die.
Oh, okay, that might be
Isn't third edition out already? Because isn't Living
Grail
going on?
Came out. Yeah, this came out 2000, the same year as
2000.
Came out.
Okay.
Yeah, so but it came out before. So this was the last.
Death Knights?
Yeah.
So this is a conversion over to his last
Yeah, Vecna is becomes the greater god, and Saint Kargoth and all the Death Knights will worship him.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So your SOL, Gary.
All the great kingdom will be his.
Yeah,
right.
So it's just
So where do you go? Right, this is probably one of the last.
One of the last.
I don't know if we asked Bruce Cordell that.
We'll see. Yeah,
we've never had Monty on, and I'm just afraid I'm going to slip with Return to Temple of Elemental Evil. That's my fear, so that's why I've always. But maybe I should try and get him on now. So
get it over with. Yep. He's an awesome guy. So, and he's written a lot
Tiefling.
of cool
at the bottom.
Cool
Here, Tiefling Pilgrims. There you go. No, there's
Planescape.
All right, there are Tieflings in 2E. If you ever played for Baldur's Gate 2. There's Tieflings all over. The one guy's a Tiefling. Herr Dalis is a Tiefling. So there's second edition are tieflings, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Tieflings predate 3E, absolutely 2E.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think Planescape has.
Yeah, it was Planescape,
tieflings.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So,
where I remember reading about them first.
All right. So, right. So, what? All right. Let's go over the direction on this discussion. I'm just going to leave up Vecna Lives for now, because but technically this is only one that's pure Greyhawk out of the 3 books, right? Where do you go? Where do you go in a 5e campaign now? Let's just assume post the Living Greyhawk era. Okay. So 600 era, whatever. What do you do with Vecna in your game if you're running him?
There's a lot of cool options for that.
I'm asking. Go ahead, Anna.
You can always revive a Vecna cult, so to speak. You can. Let's assume whether Vecna is a demigod or a god somewhere, so to speak, and we just assume that he hasn't subsumed IUs and he hasn't taken over the world and replaced all the gods. Let's say he's one of them. He's the Lord of Liches or the God of Lies and Secrets or something, or the Whispered One out there, so to speak. So just assuming he's one of many options in the deity fauna, so to speak. And then you can always have a Vecna cult that wants to make him more popular, more powerful. But I think the lure of Vecna is not so much in making him the uber villain of the new Tharistun that takes over the world, because we already have one, so to speak. So I don't think that, but that's where I think Stranger Things has a thing or two to tell us, not of Greyhawk lore of anything, but of how Vecna can operate, meaning he should be the god, the intimate god, meaning the one that seduces people individually, and the one that you whisper secrets to and tell all your your dirty secrets so he can use that against you, the one that knows all the little secrets everywhere, so to speak, and uses that to gain leverage on a more personal basis. I can see him, and instead of the other gods are distant and are part of big politics. Why don't make Vecna the personal evil option, so to speak, the one that tries to subdue a kind of a divine Scarlet Brotherhood kind of thing. It's one that goes in and on a personal basis corrupts people and know their secrets, and then all of a sudden, when you're told the secrets in some sense, then all of a sudden you get a blackmail or you corrupt yourself in Vecna, make sure that you screw up yourself and your own future, so to speak. That's where I see the strength of Vecna.
Troy says part of that is in Avernus already, so they did some of this.
Yep. And I think that's where I would put my emphasis on that part. And then I will also develop Vecna's ancient ties. I will look into and see what I can do with the serpent, what I can do with ancient Flandum, Acererak, and old witch Urflan cults and stuff.
I like cults. Cults of dead gods or ancient gods is fine, because the gods aren't coming back, okay? Or hopefully they're not coming back.
No, but they can be there on the fringes.
Absolutely.
So and
fringes is fine.
Yeah. And also that personal kind of, and Vecna can be the one that lingers around just to be a nuisance, not the master villain, but the nuisance, the scary one that goes in and just feeds off of screwing up people's lives on an individual basis, much more than screwing up the world as a whole. And then there's also the fact of if he's a lich, does he have a phylactery somewhere hidden away that apparently he doesn't, but and because the hand and the eye are effectively, figure these things out, so to speak, and write your own story of Vecna and then come up with cool adventures from that, so to speak.
So Rick Miller brings up a great point that during Age of Worms, the hand is in play, and either they give it to Tensor or the players get it during that adventure path. So one of the two is out there, which is cool. And there's no reason you can't write up stories off of that. You know,
I used Halmada the Cruel in my Shieldlands campaign, and they still haven't gone to the bottom with that, because it's in the area that Halmada the Cruel ruled. So that is tied into it. So there is a Vecna connection in my current Shieldlands campaign that way.
Doc, Doc Shoulder asked a question, which I think the answer is 100% yes. Do you think WotC will bring Vecna back in a new campaign, or is Vecna? There's no doubt now with the Stranger Things. There's no doubt
you can
that it's going to be that's going to happen.
A fifth season of Stranger Things will probably come with the new D&D edition, and they will have a tie-in that is much closer, I think.
Yeah. So
that's my guess. And there will be a spell plague redone. Vecna will be a much bigger deal in the new D&D, and he will tie into.
He'll come back and he'll get his hand back from.
Yeah, or something, and the hand and the eye will probably be in the season 5 of Stranger Things, and it might be more like a real D&D campaign or something cool. Maybe they go into the D&D universe somehow or something. Yeah, you never know, something cool.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that we will see a lot more of Vecna as a general fantasy villain. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm running another crooked joust there, Gary, for Virtual GrowCon. So there you go. I always cheating is always. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. I think someone said that. So, Mike, anything from that we missed from any publications that you know?
Well, we know in Critical Role, Archon the Cruel got the hand of Vecna after a fight with Vecna, and then he ran off to Avernus.
No, he ran off. He ran off and did Magic Mike 2.
Right.
I'm sorry, that was me.
That's what I think they're referring to in the adventure Descent into Avernus, which I played that. You have a chance to bump into Archon there and the hand of Vecna.
By the way, Moonfall's not bad. If you saw that, if you're watching that brand new show Joe's in, it's and one of the halflings hobbits is in. Yeah.
So
Murray, that guy, it's not bad. Just came out.
So Vecna is heavily into play on 5e lore, and really, I don't think it could really contradict with Greyhawk lore at all. It could definitely mess up or improve Forgotten Realm lore, but otherwise publication stuff. Oh yeah, there's a lot of publication stuff. 4th edition. There's what was that, Open Grave or something like that. Vecna had some new lore. Then you got the Core Beliefs articles from Dragon Magazine, which goes a lot into like his cult, how his cult operates, and there's a lot.
I have one more that we need to discuss that we haven't touched yet that I think is really, really cool.
Go for it.
And that is the Keepers. In the Dragon article, in Dragon 395, one of these 4th edition online only e-dragons.
Oh, it's not Dragon 348, which we never even got to.
Yeah, but in 395, they describe that the organization, the Keepers, that I think are in Keelland, that are the Keepers of Secrets, an organization that keeps secrets and stuff, is actually run by Vecna as a way of collecting, and that's a less evil outreach or organization of Vecna that is not openly about Vecna, so to speak, and not go around killing people. They're just going around collecting all the secrets of the world, so Vecna can know them, so to speak. And I think that's a really cool way of setting up an organization that is not officially, and even the people that work in the organization have no idea who they actually work for, so to speak. And I think that's a really cool way that ties into, and that also is one of the ones that ties into the Stranger Things, because they really emphasize Vecna's mental kind of getting into knowing your dirty secrets kind of thing. That's his strength.
True.
Yeah, and so when I read the people that wrote the Stranger Things, they probably had read that article about Vecna in 395, because their version of Vecna is very much the same as the one in that Dragon article. Yeah.
So this Dragon article is very generic based. It's not Greyhawk based, but it gives you things you can plop into any campaign setting.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Death. Okay. No, I don't see not the silent ones, the keepers, but a kind of a sister organization of the silent ones.
The keepers. The keepers are mentioned in Age of Worms. The chess master in Greyhawk is a keeper.
Yep.
So
the keepers is another organization.
Age of Worms is quite weird with Vecna. I mean, you mentioned earlier, the high priest has the hand of Vecna. That's in one of the later episodes. But in the earlier installments of Age of Worms, you run into this cult called the Ebon Triad, who are trying to merge Vecna. And they're trying to bring Caius back, but no, the Ebon Triad are trying to merge Vecna with Hextor and Arithmal.
Oh my gosh!
Into this tripartite god. It's real bizarre.
Yeah.
Secret library.
Should we look at the heraldry?
Yes.
I did some heraldry for the show.
Vecna
related heraldry. Yeah.
All right. So I had it scrolling through, but we definitely need to let me go here. Tell me which one to bring up first, and I'll just do it.
Take the Vecna first. Take the Vecna Wisdom of the Coast.
Old.
Yeah, or to take the old, so to speak. That's the take the one, not the old one first. So we
this
take
one?
So we can see. Yeah, that one. That is my kind of an interpretation. Yeah. So of the Vecna using the 5e version of Vecna, his symbology and stuff. So if you like that version of it, you can use this shield. And I'm going to post. Hang on a second. I'm going to post a link to this so you can all look at this. This is also the first. I haven't released this to my patrons yet, so you get first go on this. Normally I would have given it, but I didn't have the time to, so I'm going to post the link to this.
There you go, everyone. You're going to get all there's 5 shields in here.
Yeah, so some of them have been published before, but this one is new, so to speak. So this is the Wisdom of the Coast 5e version of Vecna. If you want to use that symbology for Vecna, this is my interpretation of his heraldry from his heyday might have looked like, so to speak.
Kind of spiderish.
Yeah, kind of spiderish. Yeah, and then you have the old. That is if you found a shield from that rusty and decrepit, being 1500 years old, then it could have looked like this when you found it in the and then we have 2 others also. Take the Vecna original, go to that one. This is using the symbology that was published earlier on for Vecna of his eye, all-seeing eye, so to speak. That was published back in the 3rd edition era, I think. So I took this shield as being the Vecna Empire from 3rd edition, describing Vecna's empire in Greyhawk, so to speak. And I wanted to use a different shield version for this, just like I used because I wanted the heater shield that we see today. I see them as Oridian Great Kingdom shields, and this was just my idea of that flame shield looked different or something. So I just came up with the design, and so I used it for these old flan just to diversify the old flan version, so to speak. And then you have this one in the Vecna .png that is if you find one of these shields that is old, like really old, that is scarred and rusty and kind of just old and worn and tattered from sitting here somewhere for hundreds of years. I assume it is a magical shield, so it doesn't rust, to just get overly coated with all sorts of grime and whatnot. So that was the one of them. And then there's 2 Vecna cult symbols that have been introduced in various summing. And go to the Vecna cult. You have the eye and the hand symbol, so to speak, of a Vecna cult. So then I did a Vecna cult shield that it's by intentionally done to look decrepit and terrible, because it's supposed to instill fear of decay and stuff like that. So it's supposed to look crazy and out of the scare you, so to speak.
That one's fantastic.
There's another one is the skull cult of Vecna. That's another Vecna's cult symbol that have been around in various sources and stuff, using a skull. And skull is kind of overly used a little bit, but it's good to scare humans with. So that one is there too. So yeah,
they are awesome. Definitely. Really cool stuff.
So that so you can show the skull cult of Vecna in there too.
Yeah, well, supposedly he was responsible for writing the Book of Vile Darkness, or part of it.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. Yeah, he wrote the Vial of Darkness.
Yeah.
That's an in-game public book that is supposed to exist in Greyhawk. And if you look at the new illustrations of Vecna that is made for 5e, the book sits inside his rib cage.
Right, and that's
Thank you,
Skarshark.
Thank you.
Yep. Dark Elf Twilight. Yep. So.
Yeah, the Vial of exactly. That is a great 3E source. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah. So the Book of Vile Darkness is cool, so to speak, if you want to go overboard on things. So for any edition, it's kind of cool. So yeah.
So it's really, you can go almost anywhere depending on what your time frame is.
Yep.
For Greyhawk, and we're assuming once again 570 to 600 is when people normally start Greyhawk campaigns, depending on when, what they're used to, whether it's original Gygaxian, or it's after Greyhawk Wars, or it's after Living Greyhawk, So there's a lot of room in there. You could run the Age of Worms and then have your Greyhawk, have your Vecna feel from that a little bit, but you also get some Caius and some other things. So for Vecna being in DM's Guild, can someone write an adventure in Greyhawk, since that is the setting he is in? No.
That's the problem, is that
they're never going to
put Greyhawk on it, and now he's removed from, he fled Greyhawk, so to speak. He's everywhere now.
The same thing.
Yeah, he's everywhere now. So he's D&D's master villain in the main.
You can if you place him in Saltmarsh.
Yeah. Or call it Vecna Saltmarsh or something.
Yeah, I mean,
you can call it Dread Vecna and put him in Dreadwood, because it's mentioned in there. So that will probably go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yes, it's. So
he might have. Yeah, it's not too far from where he's old stomping grounds.
Let's see what the future brings. Hey, Clash Jaws. Let's see what the future brings in the next year or so, and see what comes out. I have a feeling that Vecna will be really absconded, if I use the right word, even more after the Stranger Things, how popular this was. Yeah. It's just going to get out of it.
And we have a D&D movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Vecna is the master villain in that movie. So
or one of his items.
It's abducted. So think about that. There's other things. There's other direction to go.
Oh, he showed up in DDO, Dungeons and Dragons Online. Okay, that's
of course.
Cool.
Yeah. DDO's kind of cool.
Yep. He's everywhere.
Yep.
Absolutely everywhere. So I really appreciate you guys doing some really hardcore research on the history, so we at least know some background. People know where he came from, where it was. It's right smack dab in the middle of where I campaign. It's right there in Keelan / Grand March. Ancient history, just to go show you, you got good kingdom there of Keeland, and it was the hub area of Vecna. So that's kind of, I did not know the 16-year gap. That's pretty interesting, though.
Yep,
that is really interesting.
It's dense there, so to speak. It's kind of cool history. Yep.
Yeah. Troy, I don't know.
I think so, Troy. I think that's how he kind of gets shriveled up, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Orcus is not. So you can't go there, Patrick.
But Orcus is cool too.
Orcus is so cool that we've already got Altamira. I got stuff going on with Orcus already, man. And the Sus / Twilight Forest. It's already happening. So yep, already happening there. But it's the son of Orcus. So yep. Very cool. Any questions from the audience? We've done our best.
Yeah.
Is Orcus the serpent? No. Orcus is not the serpent. No. Orcus is also part of Frog. Yep, the Frog God. Yeah.
But Orcus seems to be part of that Earthland ancient history of Greyhawk. Yeah.
I'm writing. Trust
me. He's Skeletor. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like it.
No, Rollerjacks, you missed it. Asarak was a general of Vecna, according to some of the lore, and Vecna helped him become a lich because Vecna was the first one. Yes, so there you go. They actually knew each other.
Yeah.
What about the head of Vecna?
That's an interesting. The head of Vecna is I think is a cool example of not an official meaning. It's not a remnant of Vecna. It's something that cultists of Vecna and others do. They chop off their own head, so to speak. It's a Vecna's way of screwing with people is to make them chop off their own body parts and in order to make it so there is some you can set. Try to, and that's what I think is one of the cool things. You should try and get under the skin of players and screwing up the characters with Vecna. I think that's where there's a lot of precedent you can,
So, Dark Elf, I'm going to say that is a mega campaign adventure idea to destroy them. And I'm going to give you another reference that we have, Roger Moore's detailing of the orbs of dragonkind. There's 8 of them. They're vilely evil. No one has figured out how to destroy any of them. All 8. You can't. So I don't. The Hand and Eye of Vecna may be something that's going to exist forever at this point, right? Die Vecna Die had all that stuff. Yeah, we skimmed through it because it's just so unbelievable. Had teeth, figure. I think it even had foreskin in here. So I'm just kidding. But it has a lot of teeth.
Yeah,
fingers,
there's been part of Vecna's scalp have
Yeah.
been around in certain parts, and yeah, there's been other body parts, but according to the official sources, the only thing that remained was the eye and the hand.
So the module Vecna Lives actually gives information on how to destroy the Hand and Eye of Vecna.
Yeah, and there's been 5e has the most simple one. It was not that difficult, but yeah, you put both of them on and have the Sword of Cast killing you. That will.
What page is that on, Mike? Do you remember destroying them? Oh, it is 70.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, there's actually a Spelljammer reference on there.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that it was much harder in the 3rd edition and older editions. It was much tougher. In the 5th edition, you put if a person put on both the eye and the hand and have the true Sword of Cast killing the character, you destroy the hand and the eye, so to speak. But there's a lot of false Sword of Cast, so you're not sure which one is the real one. So that's But then earlier editions have way more. One of them was that you take it out to in the middle of the Sea of Dust and have the biggest red dragon breathe at it, so use the breath weapon. That will destroy them. And then there were some other, put it in the altar of the sun and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also positive material plane. Well, if you go there, you get destroyed yourself. A lot of the stuff you're going to get destroyed yourself.
Yeah.
I love this. The hand must be given to the vilest, most corrupt person of Greyhawk, though he will profit from it greatly after time. He will drain it of all its power.
Yeah, that I think is kind of cool because it's also risky. He might actually give it to someone else or something. So yeah.
So it's interesting. Yep. Awesome. Yes. So we try to get through some Greyhawk data so that you can see where everything came from and how it escalated exponentially to the point of where it is now, which tends to happen when things are popular.
Yeah.
It goes from boom, 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 just like a Serac. Somehow a Serac went from I'm in the Tomb of Horrors to now I'm a general of Vecna, and
I don't know exactly when that came in, but it was part of I think it was in the comic book or the illustrated comic book. So it's been around for quite some time. So yeah. Pink Eye of Vecna. Yeah.
Interesting. Pink Eye, pink stick of Vecna. Yeah. Sorry. I did it again. So, Mother Alien floating through. So it could be Curtis. It's just a lot of like what's that? The Beholders, the Mother Alien, or is that I forget? It's a Dilithid. I always get them all confused.
Sure.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this discussion. We wanted to say, hey, with all the thing going out there, let's at least discuss what we can from our end. Oh, I know Ed Wood. I know Ed Wood. So I finally have a title for Ed's adventure too. I'll share in a couple of minutes. I've been trying to get to that, and thank you. Trying to get to all the other stuff going on. It's been really busy. You think a Serpent Cult might be a reference to Conan? Well, remember, it could be. There could always be connections like that. I remember because you had those curved, yeah. And Conan was written. They wrote 2 Conan adventures. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going. Someone will get one of these 3 books. You'll get your choice when you win. You can decide. You can decide which one you actually want the most. All right. If it was me, I'd take Vecna Lives, but yeah. Okay. We're going to. No, we're going to do shout-outs first. So, Mike, what's up?
All right. It's like this.
Yeah.
On my blog, Greyhawkery.
Ooh.
A week ago, I posted an article on the Battle of Shamble Field. Go check it out, because that's the formative years of Bone March and Spine Castle. A lot of good historical
Nice
war knowledge there. So like I
Okay.
said, I posted that a week ago. If you go there today, though, there's a brand new article.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Let's fight Vecna.
Ah.
So the Vecna that's in Vecna Lives is kind of like his avatar. It's kind of weird. It's like the manifestation. So he's like a very low powered Vecna.
Nice,
Even
dude.
the lowest powered Vecna is pretty tough. And I would kind of run over that. If you manage to get through that whole article to the very end, if you just want to skip to the end, I got some bonus content on there. I have a trivia quiz on there about Vecna. So enjoy.
Nice. Good job.
I dare you to get all 14 questions right.
There you go.
Awesome.
Without cheating.
Without cheating. Well, you only get 7 minutes.
So you got it on
good
timer.
Luck.
Nice.
Good luck, Google Foo.
That's
awesome. 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
At least it's multiple choice.
Yeah.
That is very.
I'm giving people cool. a fighting chance.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mike is not on next week, right? Correct, Mike? You are back to
correct.
Okay. So there's still 5 custom form types going into No, I'm not claiming. No, I can't do that. I am never claiming that. No, because it's painful. So, Anna, what's up?
Well, first I have to say I'm sorry for my patrons and stuff, because the 598 map got delayed a couple of days because I wanted to do research for Vecna. So I hope that I didn't disappoint, because we kind of it was a deep dive into Vecna, and it's also. And this is also research that I will have useful for making historic maps and stuff. So I thought it was good to make a real deep dive and take a lot of notes and stuff. But the 598 map is coming out soon. It will be one of the themes that will be updated on this map is that I will starting to revise the borders, going from claimed to actually controlled areas. So there's more of middle of forest stuff that doesn't belong to any realm anymore and stuff. And also I wanted to give the Empire of Ayus an update, a thorough update, and try to stay away from my version of Ayus, Empire of Ayus, but still kind of put more detail in there, because it's kind of was under treated. So those are the really big ticket items, so to speak, that will be changed. And I have way more heraldry and stuff coming, but it will not make it onto the 598 map. And I also want the general approval of the Greyhawk community before I put it on the published version of the map, so to speak. So, but that will be sprinkled out over the summer, so to speak, because I have more orc tribes, I have settlements and stuff like that, and Hornlands, and I use and various other stuff from there. And now, thanks to research into old Vecna stuff, now there's more kind of ruined cities and stuff to place. They will not be on the 598 map, but they will be on future editions of the map, so to speak. So it's research for the future and for historic maps. But the 598 map is coming, and then when the 598 map then will be coming out, then I will be looking into the new $50 per month tier for the custom version map tier will finally come out, so to speak. So wait for that in about a week. That will be I will go over the details and stuff like that, so people can get a chance to start thinking if they want to jump on that opportunity or not, because those will be limited, the numbers of slots, so to speak. And then there will be start working on the heraldry compendium for this fall, and there will be probably about 400 heraldry to look into by then, so to speak. So we'll see, and the big thing will be how to organize heraldry for the heraldry compendium. So that will be, so I will start in a week or so. I will start of course the 598 map will be a preview, so to speak. So I want people's opinion about the new borders and so on and so forth. So it will be a bit back and forth. So I expect within a month or so we probably have the 2022 edition of the 598 map. And then there will be work on the heraldry compendium, Altamira, and more Shieldland stuff, and so on coming out for. And there will be more stuff on from my campaign. There will be write-ups on various villages and backstories and stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I got to get cracking on a lot more writing. I'm a little behind, but I'll get there. So.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on the mapping part too, so you're in good company. Yeah.
So, if you don't know about Stephen Chenault's kumquat tree.
Oh yeah, how is it going?
There's the link. It has kumquats on the tree.
Oh yes, kumquats.
Yes, which is a good omen.
Nice.
That is awesome.
That Twitter links to TikTok. It's a TikTok video, unfortunately.
Oh, it's a TikTok video.
Yeah, but you can still watch it if you're not on TikTok. So there you go. There's the kumquat tree status for Altamira. Just so it give you all that for now. All right. Yay. All right. Well, so tomorrow night, I am delving into lore here with well, first off, we're gonna have a special guest in my house. So John from Blue Box will be driving from Pittsburgh tomorrow morning, getting here around 4:30, between 4:30 and 5. We'll be hanging out, eating, myself and the crew. Everyone will be there, but Alan, even the ever mysterious Tim, will be here, and we are going to do. It's called the Saintly Reliquary, and let me go to this real quick. You will. From this from the departed Scott Benny. This is from Dragon 79, setting saintly standards to homage to him. We will have they have found that there is the basis on this is there's an abbey. It's in the that'll get us a hype. Thanks, Painterly. There's an abbey in the Pomarge that was long lost when humans controlled, the area, but it was in deep woods, the Swiss border. But a fire went through, exposing it. It's in ruins, and this is rumored to have relics of Saint Elidor the Survivor. So, hence the Saintly Reliquary, and Knights of Ulick are going to be going there, and that's the adventure idea. So, we shall see what happens with that. It'll be a fun time. Got some Bill, the Master Crafter's been busy. Here's some that's staged, but there you go. There's the ruined abbey and some things. So, all right. So then that's tomorrow night, Thursday. Oh, thank you. And now we're cranking up. We're cranking it up already. Trying to. Yep. It'll be a good one, M5. I'm excited about it. That is tomorrow night, and then we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday this week.
It's a big week. Yeah.
It's a big. Every week is for the rest of the month. So here is on Friday nights we have a great one where we actually Alyssa hooked us up with Matt Ryan of Chaosium, a map maker. I got like 30 maps of his. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be a great discussion. It's going to be Friday night at 8:00. And that'll be episode 14. And once again, Frog God has stepped up. I have two $25 gift certificates for that to give away. Oh, and Thursday night's all Infinite Dimension games and a Reaper giveaway for those who don't have a 3D printer. So we got plenty of giveaways the next 2 nights. That is Friday. Sunday night. Sunday. Haven't had one in a while. Wow. Damn weird. All right, so I'm doing 2 now. We doubled it. There we go. Second giveaway happening. So you get 2 of those 3 books will be gone. Creative Jam. Christine Van Patten, Moonlight Minis, who was on earlier. A Reaper sculptor. Right. Mike Disney. Jeremy from Gamescape 3D with all his new stuff. Darling, who's been doing some great work with her minis. And Bill the Master Crafter. I'm just going to oversee all of them, and they're all going to be crafting, and we're going to be taking questions and talking about, ideas. It's going to be a really cool show, I think. Give you a little aspect on, making a mini, making terrain. We're going to have 2 people who use Z-Knife 3D sculpting. It's going to be a real fun session, and that's Sunday. Then the next big thing after that is a week from Saturday. Ed is fine. He wants everyone to know thank you for thinking about him. He's persevering with his, passing of his wife. But Adventure 965, 2 drink minimum, Depths of Terror. Might as well go for it. Ed, Mark Meir, special guests, right? Tony Winslow-Brill, Eric Boyd, Anna, and Eric Mengi, all in on another adventure for 2 drink minimum. And that'll be on a week from Saturday, finishing up the month. I am scheduling. I am attempting to schedule within the next 3 weeks another DMs roundtable. That's in work right now, and then we'll just see, because I know Gen Con's that first week in August. So once people get back from Gen Con, we'll see who's available, and then we'll go from there on some wonderful things. Oh, very cool. I'll have to take a look. I may have to get that. Yeah, Curtis, I know you're going to be around. I know you got a free night, so it'll be exciting. Mark's really excited. He's got a dual class thief illusionist, because that's what he played as a kid. Now I want to show you something real quick from Mark. Hopefully I have it. Remember what folder I put it in. So he had this character sketched up 20 years ago. Melrod Mastermind. There you go. With his
nice.
sidekick won't be there. Yeah, there's his original with William Shortspeed, his little halfling sidekick.
Cool.
So that's who he's going to be playing. Melrod Master Trick. I'm sorry, Melrod Master Trick. Yeah. So, Dark Elf. I know Ed. I know how much, without me being a pain to Ed, I can get Ed, and I'm so appreciative of how much Ed does on talk shows and games and all.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're at the, I don't want to go beyond that. So at this point, but it'll be a fun one. So that's what's going on. So all right, we got 2 giveaways now, thanks to the super monster hype train here. Let's go back and.
And we have Ed scheduled for not scheduled yet, but we promised to come on for a fantasy mapping show in the future, discussing the geography and mapping of Forgotten Realms. So that's coming sometime this year. So yeah.
If you have not signed up yet, please do. These are also available. It's $5 for Virtual GrowlCon, just to cover the cost of the site. And Virtual GrowlCon 3 T-shirts are in. The first ones that everyone ordered went out, and that is an ode to Bone Hill on there. Discover Secrets and Legends. Virtual GrowlCon 3 with the dates on it. I have them available. The price includes shipping to the continental U.S. So if it's Canada, I need to add another $10, unfortunately, because it's just so. I mean, it's like $22 to ship to Canada now. But note that $35 cost covers all the shipping and all. So. To get them, but plus I'm looking for a couple more DMs. We have I have like 4 or 5 highlight streams I haven't put the games in yet, but have committed, so we're in good shape on that. But just note, we also have 1 Spelljammer game in. Bipolar Dice Roller has put his in, so there is a gray space game in there too. Oh my God, Glass!
Oh, wow.
Wow, Glass. That was very kind of you. Thank you so very much. Very, very kind of you. All right. So, first First winner will get their choice of these three. Second winner will get their second choice. Okay. All right. Anything else from us? What a nice show. Thank you all for wonderful support, and thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm
Everyone.
pleased with the result.
It was a great discussion. I'm really excited about tomorrow because having John here will be a really cool thing, and having Tim here at the same time. Because I prefer playing in person over remote entry, but playing in person is is just as cool. So look at that. We got a level 5 crush. Glass Jaws, that was really nice. Thank you. That was really kind of you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone who did that. Damn weirdo, everyone. Thank you. All right. Last call. I'll give you 30 seconds before I close them out. Oh, and Sunday night, I'm pushing our sponsors, people who are going to be participating, like Moonlight Minis and stuff. There are probably deals that are going to be there for 3D prints, by the way, and for models and stuff that will be happening that night too on the Sunday night jam. So you probably want to be there for that. Yep. That's funny, Troy. Yeah. So. 491 Phantom. I know he is. But I made a commitment to another of our partnered streamers tonight. If I see them on, where the hell are they? Guild Superior, we're raiding into tonight. Okay, so I gave them my commitment that I would be raiding into them. So I want to hold that back. Yep. All right, here we go. I was trying to wait for this to end, but it's going to keep on going a bit here. Closing this out. Hopefully I don't hit any more wrong buttons than I normally do. Mandy, good to see you.
Hello, Mandy. Yep.
Just finishing up here on the Vecna discussion.
Yep.
It was good to see you hanging out with Jimmy too. That was cool. I saw that post.
Yep.
Closing this out. That's all right, Mandy. Mandy, now that after we got the new recruits and 2 drink minimum, we need to set a Slav squad game, and one where Myriad can make the whole thing now because Prayers Rejects is doing theirs every other night. So, Rob, thanks. First winner, Ass Hurt the Bear. I had to say it like that. I haven't said it like that in about a year and a half.
Rigged.
Sure.
Yep.
See, yes. And the second winner, Rick Miller, Dewey Carthen.
Oh, awesome.
What?
Good job, Rick. Yep.
So, Dale, tell me which one you want. Rick, do you have a preference from the 3? Let me know. All right. And you guys are both on. Yes. Dale, which one don't you have? Let me guess. You don't have the Ravenloft one. That's my guess for you. And I'm going to say Rick wants Vecna die. That's my guess. Oh, you want Vecna die? Okay. Rick, you want Vecna Reborn? Just let me know. Okay. Vecna lives. Great. Okay. Very, very cool. I keep Vecna Reborn for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. So I think, Rick, I may need your address. I don't know if I have it. I probably have sent you something, but just in case, just put it in Discord to me. Thank you, everyone, for a great show. We're going to raid into Guild Superior tonight. And like I said, tomorrow night, Friday night, Sunday night, 3 more streams still. 4 streams the rest of the month every week. Thank you all for the wonderful support. And please keep on going. Keep on with everything you're all doing, and every little bit, whatever, how small your part is, it's great.
Yep.
The community really appreciates it. And Curtis, I want to talk to you at some point too. So, all right, everyone have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow night for a really exciting. It's a one-shot too, unfortunately, but I only have John here one night, so I got to make the best of it. And I'm off the next day too, so if we run late, so be it. See you tomorrow night. Wrong button. Yes, comma. It was Sunday night, and yes, I had to send it to Canada, but it was no big deal. It was good to see that the person who won it really wanted it. No, I didn't send that to Canada. I get them all confused, but I sent it. It was sent. All right, rating into Guild Superior.
Give a hand for Vecna. Yeah, that was the best comment.
Yes.
Give a hand for Vecna. Yep.
Raid. Give me a second, please. please give him a follow if you're going in there, and say hello. And he's running an adventure card from Free City Grok box set for Greyhawk Con, which is really cool. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow.